Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Above the Break. My name's Nate Santos. That's Michael J. Mayers. We're going to be breaking down some basketball for you as per usual. But before we get into that, got to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, True Classic Tees. If you want to look good, feel good, save money, and help people, guys, True Classic Tees is the only thing you're ever going to want to put on your body after you try it on. They're affordable. They make you look good. They make you feel good. Click the link in our description to check them out and use promo code CUBE15 at checkout. You're going to save yourself some money. Anyway, Mike, let's get into it. The Eastern Conference Final is set. Miami Heat have taken Game 1 of the series. First, I want to get into this. Boston beat out Toronto in a Game 7. Can you kind of break down what Boston had to go through to knock off the former champions?
I'll tell you one thing. They didn't use their Cube 15 code to save 15% of their energy. They gave it all there on the court. Boston really did grind out a nice victory, well earned, honestly. As a Toronto fan, I can be unbiased enough to say, hey, they took it, they earned it, and I respect it. They just really showed up every single game. They did not have a game where they didn't shoot a better field goal percentage than us. They really showed up from front to back. And honestly, it's a testament to Toronto's grit and determination, the fact that we even pushed it 7 games against what we could legitimately call just a simply better team.
Yeah, and after that Game 7, Miami had been resting a little while, and Boston had the kind of quick turnaround there. And it looked like it kind of showed a little. I mean, mind you, Boston took them to OT, but in the end, Miami had the endurance, and bam, with the block to give them that Game 1. Can you walk me through, I guess, Bam's importance to that team, as well as, you know, how well-rounded both of these teams are and how evenly matched?
Yeah, 100%, man. Honestly, watching this, it's like watching Toronto again, Miami in a lot of ways. What I will say is a major difference, though, however, is Miami is a better three-point shooting team overall, better than Toronto, better than Boston. They hit threes at an elite rate with the likes of Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and obviously Jimmy Butler leading the way, you know, having some huge clutch shots from three, even though he's not a three-point shooter himself. Obviously, Jay Crowder had a huge stat line, 22 points. But we go and look at someone like Bam Adebayo, who you mentioned, and that defensive rock, that force underneath the basket, it's such a difference maker when you've got that athletic big who's just waiting and on the prowl. Jason Tatum had a clear path to the basket. Jimmy Butler did his best to keep him from having a clear path, but we all know how slippery Jason Tatum is. He has a budding superstar emerging, trying to really make a name for himself, and he got met by Bam Adebayo at the top floor of the elevator, and boy, oh boy, that left hand, weak hand block, his hand bent all the way back, but he bent but didn't break. That was an amazing, one of the best defensive plays we've seen 100% since Game 7 of the 2016 Finals by LeBron James on Andre Iguodala.
Yeah, that was, I mean, everybody, Twitter kind of blew up for a bunch of reasons, and a lot of it was for the game that took place later that night, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But with how fun Game 1 was to watch and how we can see these teams are going to be, you know, separated by 3 points, 1 possession in OT, can we expect every game to go this deep, or do you think every once in a while there'll be a blowout? You know, how do you see the series going?
These two teams are built on effort. So I see this being the same as the Toronto series, except for Toronto had 2 blowout losses. I don't see Miami ever doing that. They've got, again, that 3 ball has the power of an equalizer to get you back into games you really shouldn't be in. All those 7-point games when it was close and Toronto goes and edges it out and gets tight, that's the difference between Miami hitting a few threes and them actually having a 3-point lead or a 4-point lead as opposed to being in a deficit. Threes are the name of the game nowadays, and we're seeing Miami employ that, especially building around someone like Jimmy Butler. It's amazing to see, and I think that this is going to be a tight game all the way through, no matter who edges out who in the end of each of these frames.
Now, with Game 1 going to Miami, and let's say hypothetically Miami take Game 2, Miami seemed to have that kind of resolve that, you know, once they smell blood, they're going in for the kill. And Boston were up 2-1 up to nothing against Toronto, and then eventually had to go to 7. Do you think Boston has the resolve to push Miami to, you know, let's say a game 6-7 if they go down 2-0?
What's terrifying for Boston is that everything went right, save for Kemba Walker. Gordon Hayward should be back relatively soon, so that might be the scoring punch that they need in case that Kemba doesn't have it going that night. Gordon Hayward can come step in and take a few shots, but for the most part, Boston did what they just usually do, except Miami got to watch what Toronto had to do in order to get back into the series and employ that from game one on lots of rest. And on top of it, again, that three-point shooting is such an equalizer. But yes, Boston does have every piece they need to go and win this game, win this series in 6 or 7 as well. I don't see this going any shorter than 6 or 7 games. This is too tight.
And do you think with how evenly matched they are, if a team is one necessarily a clear favorite coming out of this series if they are to make the finals? Or would you say that regardless, they're going to be the underdog against the Western Conference team?
I think that obviously when we're going to get to in a little bit with Denver, that could be anybody's series, and Denver can beat anybody. And they can also lose to anybody. They are live or die by the 3 in a huge sense of the term. Now the Lakers are built a little bit different, but there's no legitimate reason to not say that either of these teams, Boston or Miami, whoever emerges from the East, isn't going to have a legitimate shot at, it's taking a couple games that they shouldn't and winning a couple games outright and winning a couple wars. Like, all it takes is 4, and you just need to not show up against Boston or Miami, and all of a sudden you get swept if you're in the case of Miami, or you go to a 7-game war like you did in the case of Boston. So we'll see what happens, but I just see this East team. They're both comprised of team basketball, and I think we're learning that superstars and having them lead without legitimate horses behind them, it's just not the same. Kawhi had a horse of a team behind him last year in Toronto, and we saw that because he left, wasn't replaced by anybody but OG being healthy, and we went 7 games against what a lot of people are saying is the best team in the East. So this is team ball, especially in a bubble with no crowd to really boost your back. So we'll see how that goes, but legitimate 50-50 shot no matter who it is coming from the West or the East, in my opinion.
All right, we'll have more of a preview as this series progresses. Up next, we're going to go out west and break down that Game 7 between Denver and Clippers. Don't go anywhere. Be sure to check that one out.